Thank you, Jennifer, and good afternoon, everyone. Good day, depending on where you are in the world. I'm happy to have an opportunity to be here in conversation with you. And today, my topic that I'm going to be speaking about really is Black Lives Matter, that movement. And for many of us, this phrase, Black Lives Matter, came into our consciousness about 7 years ago, on July 13th, 2013, when Alicia Garza, following the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the murder of Trayvon Martin in Florida, posted this phrase online. This message was echoed by Patrisse Cullors and became the hashtag that was literally read around the world. Given the energy behind the assertion that Black Lives Matter, Alicia, Patrisse, together with Opal Tomete, mobilized to form an online platform that has since grown into a global movement. While these three words, Black Lives Matter, are simple ones, and while they are words that many of us know inherently to be true, for too many of us, our daily experiences at work, in society, and the ways that we see ourselves portrayed in the media deny its truth. In recent weeks, following the murder of George Floyd by the police in Minnesota, Black Lives Matter has again been brought to the forefront of public discourse. Yet the movement has been at work for years, and like movements before it, has built upon the work of previous struggles, such as the civil rights movement, which Kari alluded to, and it draws inspiration from global struggles, such as South Africa's anti-apartheid movement. Broadly, the work of the Movement for Black Lives focuses on ending police brutality, policy change, amplifying Black voices, electoral politics, and generally supporting Black people wherever we are found in the world. With the momentum of recent weeks, the Movement for Black Lives has made significant progress in a number of key areas, a few of which I will highlight. The first is that the police officers charged in the murder of George Floyd have been charged in the murder of George Floyd. Secondly, monuments and statues celebrating white supremacists have been removed around the world. And thirdly, a commitment to reallocate funding from police to communities was made in Los Angeles, among other places. In recent weeks, we've also seen more people of all races around the world engaging with history, racism, and their own personal roles in racial inequality today. And these are certainly victories to be celebrated. The question then is, how do we sustain this energy of the Movement for Black Lives and other allied organizations? As concerned individuals, what is our role? What ought to be our work moving forward? And for me, the work remains the same. It's about building anti-racist, equitable, and inclusive communities in which all Black lives matter, whether they be the lives of Black women, queer or trans folks, Black people with disabilities, Black people from poor communities, or those who hail from the continent or the diaspora. In thought, in word, and in deed, we must ensure that all of these Black lives do truly matter. To do so, as has been outlined by many anti-racist activists, our work must take place at 5 levels. The first is to interrogate our personal beliefs. What are the ways in which we have internalized messages about ourselves and our inferiority or superiority based on our race? The second level at which we must work is the interpersonal. When engaging with Black people, what are the biases that are at play? How do personal beliefs manifest in whether or not the police or security are called on Black people in the manner in which Amy Cooper called the police on Christopher Cooper in Central Park? That was a personal interaction with potentially fatal results. A third arena in which I think we must engage in anti-racist activism is the cultural. What are the so-called norms, the symbols, the narratives that we have agreed to? When someone says something is ghetto to indicate that it is inferior, who are the people that come to mind? Do we interrogate and challenge narratives about Black on Black crime, welfare queens, and deadbeat dads? Or do we regard these cultural narratives as true and treat Black people accordingly? The fourth area, I think, in which we must work is institutional. In our workplaces, our schools, and our places of worship, do our policies uphold, again, the quote unquote norms that exclude Black people? What, for instance, are our policies around hair, around the language that must be spoken? Where do we recruit from, and who sits on those hiring panels to decide who is qualified and who is not? And finally, the fifth space in which we must address racism is at the structural level, by asking, what are the public policies? How do they perpetuate racism and inequality? On what basis are funding and other resources allocated to schools? What policing practices, such as stop and frisk, disproportionately target Black people? This area is particularly important because without dismantling the systems and structures that have upheld white supremacy for centuries, even with Black representation, the system will continue to produce inequitable results. And as you can see, while progress has definitely been made and should absolutely be celebrated, there's still more work, excuse me, to be done. My view is that while we all can't do everything, we can each do something. And my hope is that in this struggle for Black lives, we would draw inspiration from the words of Steve Biko, who said, "March forth with courage and determination, drawing strength from our common plight and our brother, and I would add sisterhood, and that in time we shall be in the position to bestow upon South Africa, and again I would add Africa and the world, the greatest gift possible, a more human face." Thank you.